User defined methods you have already done.
User defined.
User defined method. User defined methods you have already done lot of topics in class 10. You have done few programs. You have done some programs related to overloading, also method overloading. Okay, so basically today's class we are going to revise all those things, and also I will show you practically how the things are happening, because most of the uh, questions that you have done related to the methods are mostly theoretical, and there were some programs which you have done it in during the exam. That is also mostly the programs were written theoretically. Practically those things were not performed. So I'm going to discuss the practical aspects of the methods. I will also discuss that how the things are being processed in the program. I will also I will show you that how the flow of controls of the programs are happening inside the program. Okay. So we would start with this. Uh, Firstly, let me show you some theory oriented things. As you can see, the first one is the Java definition, Java method definition. What it is as it is a collection of the statement that can perform some operation. Mostly when we consider the methods, there are two types of methods which are available. Number one is the user defined method, and number one is the predefined methods. Now the predefined methods are already designed, they are declared and defined inside the Java compiler beforehand. If I give you an example of certain predefined methods, which include print line statement, power function, square root function, and there are so many different kinds of the methods that we generally use in the Java programs. So all these methods are already declared and defined inside the Java compiler. This is the purpose why these methods are known as predefined method. Okay, because we just have to implement we just have to implement the method inside the program, but we need not have to define the methods inside the program. We just invoke the method in the program, and whatever the processing is, it is done by the compiler at the back end, because those methods are already declared and defined in the Java compiler. Okay, coming to the user defined method. Now user defined method does what? In the user defined method, we create sub programs within the main program, so that our main program remain light and the complexity of the program can be reduced. The concept of the method was introduced, only the purpose is that to make our main program comparatively much more light and much more easy, rather than making the main program much more complex. Okay, so the purpose of the method is whatever the process, what are the purpose that the program need to be served, those are kept in a separate method, and all these multiple methods are integrated together into one particular main program. Okay, so basically modularity, this approach is known as modularity, which is also one of the object oriented programming. Because what happened, you divide your task into several modules, and all these modules are interconnected with one main program from where the execution starts. So when we say the main program, the concept of the main program defines that it is that section of the program where you have main method. Because always we have seen that the Java programs are executed where the main method is there. So the execution of the program or the compilation of the program happens from that particular point where the main method is declared in the program. Okay, and after that, inside the main method, when you try to invoke all the user defined method, then the compiler start redirecting into several other user defined method which you have created in the program. So these are almost so many theoretical things which you must have listened, you have all have studied. But the thing is that I will show you the practical implications so that these concepts become lot more easier for you to understand. So before that, we will see that how the methods are created. As you can see the syntax, you have the access specifier, you have a static keyword which is not compulsory, you can create it, you may not create it. The static keyword, the purpose of the static keyword is that whenever if this particular method is executed, its results, its parameter remain fixed and it does not changes the value during the execution of the method. Okay, but in every user defined method, you have to understand it has to have a return type, at least void. At least void. Now what is the purpose of the return type? The purpose of the return type is, as I already said, that you have several sub programs which are known as modules, and all these modules are interconnected with one of the main program, that is that particular code segment where the main method is written and from where the compilation process starts. So this is the purpose why every function, every method that you create has to have a return type. If it does not have any return type, then also it need to have a void return type. That means void return type represent that the method is not passing or not sending any value into the main method. Okay, all the execution are happening from the method itself. If the user defined method had a return type, then this return type represents that after the execution is completed within the user defined method, the user defined method will pass the value back into the main method. I repeat, try to understand the differences. The user defined method with a return time void and the user defined method with all the other return type other than the void. So as you can see in this syntax, there is a user defined method, that is method name, which is created. Now beside that, you have a return type called integer, int is mentioned. That means what? After the execution is completed within this particular method, what happened? This method will pass certain value back to the main method, that is the part of the program where the public static void main is mentioned. So it will send back the value to the main program. Okay, but instead of integer, if you have the void, it means that all the compilation and the execution will be done within the method itself, and this particular method will not return any value to the main method. It will not pass any value. Okay, then the concept comes is the parameters. As you can see, these are written as the integer a and the integer b. These parameters are known as formal parameters. What is the concept of formal parameter? Formal parameters are those parameters inside the method which accepts the value from the main method for the execution of the user defined method. User defined method does not hold or does not accept its own value. You have to understand that user defined method does not have its own value. The function user defined method is only used to design the functionality, the activity, okay, but not the acceptance. So this acceptance part is done by whom? It is done by the main method. So when the main method will pass the value to the user defined method, then the formal parameter will get this value. So these are so many other concepts. I will come in details one after the other. So basically, to create a method, what are the things that you require? you required a public access specifier, you required an access specifier. It can be public, private, protected, that depending upon your purpose. You have a static keyword, which is option. You may use static keyword, you may not use static keyword, depending upon the purpose. Then comes your user defined method, and every user defined method need to have a return type. Okay, now this return type is again depending upon the purpose. If you want to send back any value from the user defined method to the main method, then it can have any return type other than the void. And if you don't want to return any value from the user defined method to the main method, then you can have uh, the void. And if you want to return any value, then you can have any other return type other than the void. So it can be integer, it can be float, it can be character, depending upon the purpose. And also you have the parameters inside the braces. These parameters are termed as formal parameters because this parameter accepts the value from the main method, and after that these values are held to execute the program within the method itself. Okay, so this is basically how you create a method, and how these are the parameters, or these are the elements that every user defined method needs to have. There are a lot of things are there, theoretical topic that you can go through once we complete. So basically right now what I will do is that I will directly show you a program, and I will try to explain each and every method so that the things become a lot more easier. Right now I'm opening a program which is designed with the concept of a method. Now as you can see, I have created a program. I have a class name method1. Okay, this is basically a very simple program. The program will create a method to perform the area of a rectangle. Very simple thing. Okay, and also the purpose of this particular program is that whatever the calculation execution will happen, it will happen within the user defined method, not within the main method. It will happen entirely within the user defined method, and from the user defined method only I will execute the result. Okay, so I'll start up with this. You have a main function. Okay, in the main function, since a rectangle require two values, so you have taken a two variable integer a and b, and with the help of the next in function and the scanner class, the value of a and b has been taken. Okay, now what? Now as I said, that entire execution and the entire execution will happen in the user defined method. So that means my calculation and everything, nothing will happen inside the main method, it will happen in the user defined method. So what I have done is that I have given two printing statement to print the value of a and b. Now these a and b are known as actual parameters. That means the variable within the main function which is actually storing the value. You have to understand the definition of the actual parameter. All the actual parameters are actually present within the main function, and actual parameter are those parameters which is actually holding the value in the main function, which are declared within the main function. So that is why I have given this printing statement that value of a and the b has been taken from the user, and that is why this a and b are actual parameters. So I am printing the value of a and b. Now what? As I said, my user defined function has the calculation part, and I have the value, two values, that is the length and the breadth of a rectangle, that is a and b is out here. So it is not going to perform any calculation here. What is that? I have to pass this value A and B into the user defined method. So how will I do? The first thing that I will do is that this is my class name method1. Inside method1 I have created an object called m1, and I have called, means I have given this m1 certain space. What to do? This m1 object will call the area user defined method which I have created at the top. This is the area method. This area method has been called inside what? Main function. Now inside area, if you see, here are two parameters. These are known as formal parameters. And as I said, the formal parameters will accept the value from the main method. So what I have done, once I have called area method with the help of the object m1, I am passing the value of a and b into the user defined method. I am repeating again, the value of a and b which will be required to calculate the area of a rectangle. What I have done, I have called the area method with the help of the object m1, and I have passed the value a and b, that is the value of the actual parameter into the user defined method. The moment the compiler is at this particular position, the compiler will see what? That area function or area method has been called. So the compiler will not move forward. The compiler will move the control into this particular section. That is, from bottom, the compiler will straight away move towards the top. Now, after the compiler comes here, the compiler sees that a user defined method area has been created with a return type void. Now this void represents that no value from this particular method will be sent back into the main method. That means all the execution and all the printing will be done within this particular method itself. No value will go back to the main method. So now, as I said, that integer x and integer y are the formal parameters. Why these are known as formal parameters? Because right now the value of x and y will be obtained from the value of a and b. Now again the question comes, how we will know which one is length and which one is breadth? Always remember, the arrangement of the parameters are the arrangement of the parameter which is done here will reflect the exact value to the arrangement of the parameters which are given here. That means on the left side, as you can see, a is a integer type value. So the value of a will only get copied into the variable x, which is also integer data type. The value of a will not go to the value of y. Okay, then you have the value of b, which is again holding a certain value. These value of b will get copied into the variable y. Always remember, whatever actual parameters you are using inside the main method, in the same way the values will get reflected into the formal parameter. So that means, if I, just for your understanding, if I say that this particular line is written as m1 dot area b comma a, that means the value of b will reflect on the variable x and the value of a will reflect on the variable y. Just for your understanding, if I write this particular line m1 dot area b comma a semicolon, that means on the left hand side the variable b is there, so value of b will get copied into variable x, and out here the variable a, which is on the right hand side, this value will get copied into very formal parameter y. Okay, so this is how the value from the main method is getting copied into the user defined method, and this process is known as pass by value. I repeat, this process is known as pass by value, where the exact value of the actual parameter is getting passed into the formal parameter. But mind you, in the formal parameter, if I make any changes in the value, then it will not affect the actual parameter. I repeat, in the pass by value program, always remember, if any changes are done in the actual parameters, sorry, in the formal parameters, any changes in the formal parameters is done, then the value does not reflect into the actual parameters. Okay, the value in the actual parameters remain unaffected. Those changes will only reflect into the formal parameters. Now what I have done, since now I have achieved the value of x and the y from the main method, I have to calculate the area of a rectangle. So integer AR is the variable which I have taken to calculate, to store the result of the area of a rectangle. So I have printed the value of x and y. X and y, mind you, these are formal parameters. So the formal parameters values are getting printed, and area is equal to x into y, which is the formula. And then I am finally printing the result of the area of a rectangle within the user defined method. Mind you, this line is very, very important. Since it has a void written out here, this particular user defined method will not reflect back any result, or will not send any result back to the main method after the completion of the execution of the user defined method. So basically what happened in the user defined method, if you have a return type called void, that means all the execution is happening within the user defined method, and all the printings are also happening within the user defined method. This method is not sending back any data into the main method. The main method, once the main method has passed the value of a and b, the purpose of main method is closed. It will not execute any further. Who will execute? The user defined method will execute, and it will execute the area of a rectangle, and the result will be printed. Just to make you understand, what I will do is that I will compile the program and I will show you the output. Enter the value of a. As you remember, a is a actual parameter which is declared inside the main method. So let's say I'm taking the value of a is equal to 12. Again, the second value is being asked for variable b. What is variable b? Variable b is again the actual parameters of which is declared inside the main method. So I take the value of 10. Now if you see, the actual parameter a is 12. The value of the actual parameter v is 10. Now if you see here, x and y is a formal parameter. The value of a is reflected in x. That is why the value of x is 12, and the value of b, which is reflected in the formal parameter of y, which is 10. So that is why I was telling that a and b, which is declared inside the main method, becomes the actual parameters, and this value becomes the formal parameter x and y, because the value of x and y is transmitted from the actual parameter which is created inside the main method. And then what? The result, area of a rectangle is 120. This part has been executed from the user defined method, not from the main method. Try to understand. So as you can see, the difference between the actual parameters and the formal parameter. Formal parameter always gets the value from the actual parameter which is declared inside the main method. And also the arrangement of the formal parameter should be exactly the same as of the arrangement of the parameters, actual parameters inside the main method. So just in case, what I will do is that I am just closing this and I am changing the program little bit. What I am doing is that I am just changing the parameter, making this as a B and this as A. Now if I compile, obviously there is no syntax error. So now if I try to run this program, enter the value of A, so I am taking 10 as the value of A and the value of B is 12. Now if you see, the value of B is 12, which is reflected on X, and the value of A, which is 10, is reflected on Y. Why this it happened? Because in the main method, if you remember, I have reversed the arrangement of the parameters. Initially it was A comma B, but next when I change, I made it B comma A. So that is why the arrangement of the actual parameters inside the main method should be exactly of the same return, should be exactly of same data type, and should be exactly of same arrangement inside, which is arranged inside the formal parameters. So formal parameters variable arrangement and actual parameters variable arrangement should always be same. Accordingly, those values will get reflected. Okay, so this is basically the process of pass by value. Why pass by value? Because the exact value of the actual parameter is getting passed into the formal parameter. Now in class 10 you have studied there are two types of passing. One is pass by value and one is pass by reference. But for your kind information, since you have been upgraded with some additional topic, let me tell you that in Java program, pass by reference or call by reference is practically impossible. Call by reference or pass by reference cannot be implemented inside the Java program. The purpose behind is that the reference operator is actually indicated by ampersand symbol. If you remember the ampersand symbol is if I write it here, this is your ampersand symbol. This particular symbol indicate the reference operator, but you have to understand in Java program this ampersand symbol is completely of different functionalities. This ampersand symbol is required to store the memory address of the variable which is created. This ampersand symbol is used to store the memory address. It cannot be used as a reference. So for this particular purpose, what happened? No pass by reference can be practically implemented or can be used inside the Java program. So pass by reference or call by reference is actually a myth inside the Java program. Now I will show you the next program. Okay, so now I will show you the next program. Now this particular program, the first program, as you can see, is that it did not have any return type. This is the user defined method with certain parameters, but it did not have any return type. So what I will do, I will show you the second program. The second program, as you can see, it has a return type. I repeat, it has a return type. Now volume is the user defined method, volume of a shape. Okay, now before making you understand this user defined method out here, what I will do is I will straight away take you to the main method. Now inside the method, always remember what is my purpose of the calculating, what are the requirements to calculate the volume. Let's say volume of a cuboid. For volume of a cuboid, you have to have three sides. You have length, breadth, and the height. So that is why I have taken three variable. that is A, B and C. And A, B and C in this case is nothing. Again, what it is? Actual parameters, because these variables are declared inside the main method, and these variables will pass the value into the user defined method. So this is the purpose why A, B and C are considered as the actual parameters. Now if I move on, what is that? I have printed the value of A, B and C into this. To call the user defined method, what I have to do? My class is already created. With the help of the class, I will create an object named M2. Okay, and with the help of the new operator, what will happen? The class inside this particular class, the M2 will be allocated with certain amount of space. Always remember, new operator is used to allot a space to the object. So that is the purpose of the new operator. Now, as I said, this program represent return type. That means after the completion or after the execution of the entire program, my final output will be obtained from the main method, not from the user defined method. So what I have done, since it's a volume program, so I have taken a variable fb. What this fb will do? This variable fb will store the result of the volume and will get displayed from the main method. Okay, so that is why I have taken fb. fb is equal to, the name of the object is m2, so m2 dot volume a comma b comma c. Why fb is equal to m2 dot volume a comma b comma c? Because m2 object is calling the volume function, and inside the volume function, with the help of the actual parameters, I am passing the value of length, breadth and height. Once the calculation is done, the compiler will come back into this particular same line, that is, the volume has been successfully calculated, and the value of the volume will be stored into fv, and this fv will be printed later up. So let me show you the direction, how the direction is working. First, a, b and c, the value is taken. After that, the value of the actual parameters got printed. Then the this object is created inside the class with the help of the class name. Now this particular object is calling the method, user defined method, that is volume, and passing the value of a, b and c, which are actual parameter, back into the user defined method. From here onwards, try to understand, the compiler will not move forward. The compiler again will shift back into user defined method. That is, here is the position of the compiler right now. Here, as you can see, the compiler has come up here, and the compiler see that there is a user defined method volume, which has a return type of integer. Now this integer replicates that will instruct the compiler that once this user defined execution is completed, my result will return back into the main method. So compiler will keep that point in mind, that it has a return type of integer. So after the result is obtained, that result will be sent back into the main method. The result will not be printed from the user defined method. Now to calculate the volume, as I said, length, breadth, height, so 3 parameters are required. So inside this user defined method, you have 3 formal parameter, that is x, y and z. Why all these are integer type? Because inside the main method, you are passing 3 actual parameters value, which are also integer type. That is why integer type value will pass into the integer type formal parameter. Integer type actual parameters will pass the value to the integer type formal parameter. That is why the x, y and z will be there inside the, will be declared as an integer type. Then obviously you have to calculate the volume. So you have calculated the volume. How you did it? Before that, the x, y, z has been printed as a formal parameter, the values of the formal parameter. So volume is equal to x, y, z has already obtained the value from the main method, inside the main method you have actual parameter. So actual parameter has successfully passed the value to xyz. So now the volume has been calculated. Now when the volume has been calculated, what compiler will do? The compiler will read this line, that is return. The value of the volume have to be returned. Where it has to be returned? Written inside the main method. So this particular line will redirect the compiler back into this particular line. That means the result of the volume has been sent back into this particular method. So this is the code, as you can see, but right now what is here? The result of the volume is here, which is stored into the variable called fb, and this fb is getting printed out here. Mind you, the fb is holding the value of the volume which is coming from the user defined method, but the value of the volume is not getting printed in the user defined type. It is getting printed inside the main method. Okay, so now once this value gets stored into the fv, you are printing the final results inside the main method. So, and this part is actually happening only because your user defined function has a return type of integer. So no, after the execution is done, it gets over, it cannot be printed within the user defined method. It has to get printed from the main method. Okay, so with I will show you the output in the next link, as we have come up with the time. So we meet in the next link. In the next link I will rerun this program and show you the output. Okay.